So, warm welcome everyone on tonight's health event. So, my name is Vibeke Parr, and I'm a president in Zinzino. And I'm very happy to host this meeting for everyone who has logged in on a Friday evening, craving to learn more about our great Zinzino concept. And we are very grateful and happy to greet two amazing persons who will educate us for the next 45 minutes. So the first speaker is Jean-Jacques Trochon. He is a former airline pilot in Air France. And through his own health journey that started in 2003, where he actually turned his situation that seemed pretty impossible to possible. JJ has found an enormous passion for encouraging and helping other people health-wise. He is extremely passionate about active prevention, on how you, through optimal nutrient, can get optimal health. And he has also been writing a great book called Flying Against All Odds. And together with the other gentleman, Tino Bacchetta, he's an engineer and an official patent advocate for a project called Oncobiome. He's leading international teams in immunomicrobial and oncology research. So we will get an insight in a product we do not know so much about yet. I tried it myself, the blue drink, and I truly feel more energized. I thought that I had pretty much everything right in my diet, but this was missing. And I think most of us have heard that spirulina is also called the nature's hidden treasure. It's so rich in nutrition, and I'm extremely excited about tonight's event, where we can learn more about how to best take responsibility for our own health. So please, Mr. JJ, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Viveka. I'm very happy and honored to be with you all tonight. In fact, we're here to discover some of the Earth's finest treasure. We've got a cyanobacteria, which is absolutely incredible. You must know that back in 1929, there was a French poet actually that wrote "The Earth is blue," and sometime after, there's an astronaut, Yuri Gagarin, the first man to see the Earth from space, and he confirmed that the Earth was blue. But neither of those men knew exactly why the Earth was blue. And in fact, it was this microalgae cyanobacteria that gave the color to this planet. And as you see behind me, while I was a pilot, so from there, sometimes at the highest heights, I could see that the Earth was round and blue. So I can confirm that as well. And so algae in general is essential because it purifies air and water. And believe it or not, produces more than 90% of the oxygen on the planet. The rest of the 10% was produced by trees and plants. And a lot of people don't know that. So we have life on Earth because we have pigments. And there's a number of pigments. They all absorb light. And some of it at different wavelength. But our blue cyanobacteria has the widest absorption spectrum. These cyanobacteria are the largest and most important groups of bacteria on the planet. They are actually ancestors of algae itself. and all sorts of plants. And equally, the originators of the animal line. So guess what? Homo sapiens is the great grandson of the cyanobacteria. So what does it make us? What does it make you, really? That we know we're coming from a cyanobacteria. And people don't know that. So this chemical structure, why is it so important and so vibrant? And why does it look like us? It's very simple. If you can explain it in just a few words. The erythropoietin, basically REPO, the center of a red blood cell. The chemical structure is almost similar to the chlorophyll, the plant structure. And then there's this cyanobacteria, the phycocyanin, the pigment, which also has a very, very similar chemical structure than the two others. So as we know, and why is it so important, our red blood cell, the heart of a red blood cell, has a molecule of iron. And we know why iron is so important for us. Well, in the same structure, the plants have in the center a molecule of magnesium. So they're very similar. But guess what? Phycocyanin has itself the two molecules of magnesium and iron. And that's the reason why the researchers said from the start that cyanobacteria was the beginning of life on Earth, and that we descend from a cyanobacteria. So we start to understand why it is so powerful. Because it oxygens the planet, it oxygens liquids, so the blood, and it protects the environment, the cell environment in our body. So what did the leading identities on our planet said about this cyanobacteria that spirulina is? UNESCO, the United Nations, NASA, they all said this is the ideal food of the 21st century, or a food of superior health. That's what they called it, and they published it for the 21st century. The WHO, the World Health Organization, said, wrote, published, it's a fantastic strengthening immune system, defense, and preventing the disease. This is published. Everyone can go and see it. The FDA in America also published the best food of mankind. Why is that? Because when you know what there is inside spirulina, you understand that it is the most complete food on the planet. What does it have? The most complete protein environment. Essential and non-essential amino acids. They have the whole range of vitamins except the vitamin C, or very little. It has 4 pigments in one single cyanobacteria. The most complete, the most unknown, and the most incredible one is phycocyanin. There was a question, why PhytoSci on the bottle? That was just to say phycocyanin from science. That's why we call it PhytoSci X14, that it has a minimum of 14 grams per liter concentration, which is perfect. This spirulina has also plenty of enzymes, the minerals and the oligoelements, the fatty acids, the carbs, the carbohydrates. It has absolutely everything that the body needs. And that is why all these world identities declared spirulina as the first food for malnutrition on the planet of all foods. So, yes, Vibeke said, I wrote a book, Flying Against the Odds. For those who've never seen it before, that's what it looks like. But I wrote my story in a very simple way. I could have written a lot of science in there because I swim in science. I love science. My subject was biology when I was a kid in America in high school. And then my father became a pilot. I was in a French family as well, and the first boy. And so I had to follow my dad. I guess I didn't have any choice. I became a pilot. So in 2003, in fact, I had my encounter with this terrible illness called cancer, kidney cancer. And funny enough, I was supposed to have metastasis because it was already very vibrant and very aggressive. They thought I would have metastasis within 3 to 6 months. In fact, they only came 9 years later. But when they came, they started going all over the place in the lungs. We counted up to 26 tumors in both lungs. I was very fortunate to be directed to my oncologist in the leading cancer center in Europe. It is south of Paris. There are many nationalities of doctors, researchers, oncologists. And my oncologist was at the time the boss of cancer research, the leading kidney cancer oncologist in Europe. I think, yeah. So he was the chairman of ESMO at the time. ESMO is the European Society of Medical Oncology. He said to me in a small office, Monsieur Trochon, now we call each other by our first name and we say tu in French, you know, we're very, very friendly, he's a partner over being a friend. He said, Monsieur Trochon, we're sorry that there is absolutely no treatment for kidney cancer. There's only one specific treatment that might slow down the cancer for only up to maybe 2 years. This is it. There's nothing else that we can't do anything for you. So you have to realize that I was facing a situation where it's either I survive or death. But to survive, since there's no treatment, the medical system didn't have anything for me. So I had to start acting as doing active prevention in the latest biology studies. And that's where I started getting in contact with the top scientists in the planet. And so we worked for years, and I started applying a few of the what you call metabolic interventions. Within the whole thing, I learned about spirulina and phycocyanin. But which one? Which spirulina? Because even in France, from the French government, they have said, be careful about taking spirulina because spirulina swallows pollution. So if you grow spirulina in a basin, most of the time it will be polluted a little bit or much more. So I started taking spirulina and phycocyanin at very high doses on top of the rest. In fact, I was up to 6 to 8 doses a day of phycocyanin. This is one dose per day for 18 months. I was tested, obviously, during my illness, not having any treatments. I refused, or I declined the only treatment that would have maybe slowed down with the illness, with probable side effects. And I had the fortune to meet Professor Laurent Zitvogel, who happens to be today an oncologist, a researcher specialized in breast cancer, but she's the leading scientist on the planet today in immunomicrobiome-oncology. So tumor immunology using the latest data of the microbiome. She went to see the European Commission. She led a team of the 8 most advanced countries in Europe called Oncobiome. Since then, they've included everybody, the Americans, the Canadians, the Chinese, everyone's there. In fact, about a year ago, on one of the last meetings we had together, I was sitting next to a researcher from Kazakhstan. Wonderful lady, wonderful researcher. And I was tested, my microbiome. She specializes in the microbiome. She's the leading scientist in having the best results on the planet using the microbiome for cancer patients. I had a terrible microbiome, very inflamed to start with. After 18 months of doing what I was doing, part of it was taking 6 to 8 doses of phycocyanin a day. They tested me again, and the reason was that over the 26 tumors, they helped me a bit, but I had 3 or 4 left, and nothing was growing anymore. That was 3 years after. So everybody was asking questions. Laurent Zitvogel asked me to come to Gustave Roussy to introduce me to her team of researchers, European researchers. There were 9 people from all over Europe, the best countries. And they wanted to know what happened. They've never seen this before. It's impossible. Kidney cancer, there is no exception. Between 2012, 2015, immunotherapy was not in the program. So basically, there's no exception. Every single cancer patient from kidney cancer who became metastatic dies from its cancer between 3 and 7 years. In fact, on the American FDA site, official site, my case, 8% of the people survivors after 5 years. But there again, I was 3, 4 years later, and it seemed like my cancer was becoming totally inactive. Very little, just a little bit. So they tested everything again in me. They tested my microbiome again. This was the shock of their lives, all the researchers. 3 months after testing me, they called me out. And she said to me, she wanted to present herself, not her colleagues. JJ, you have transformed your microbiome. You have a microbiome that is the most anti-inflammatory that we've never seen since 2010, when we started screening the microbiomes of all patients at national level. You look like one of those pygmies in the rainforest who never see the modern world. That's what you look like. So they translated the anti-inflammatory state of a microbiome with the dying illness. The inflammatory state that the cancer needs was not there anymore. So that was absolutely incredible. And in fact, that was the little funny thing. She showed me the last 2 strains on the bottom of the 3rd page of all the bacteria listed. They were not known in the humankind at the time. They've never seen it in the humans. So what happened? So since then, you must understand that she's the leading researcher on the planet. She's the world leading researcher in the leading cancer center in Europe, not only in France, it happens to be in Europe. So you've got Germans, you've got Swedes, you've got Spanish, you've got Italians, wonderful teams. Well, they decided to do on a mice program, a 3.5-year program, to reproduce what I had done on the mice to start with. And what happened, there's a 51-page scientific publication that came out, which I have. They sent it to me right away. It shows that the microbiome of the mice were transformed and that the immunity of the mice were up. So they reproduced what happened to me in the mice. The second thing they've done a year later is ask me for this particular phycocyanin. Can we send? She didn't say, JJ, can we have? She wrote an email to the whole team of researchers, and I was in copy. And she said, JJ is going to send us. So that was the first time I heard about it, which we did. I said, Tino, get to work. We've got to send Laurence Zitvogel and her team of scientists at Gustave Roussy 2 different concentrations, 14 grams per liter and 40 grams per liter. They did a 4.5-month program on mice again. That was never done on the planet before. It was the very first time. They reproduced the same thing on the mice. But what was very surprising is that the 40 grams per liter, the most extreme one, didn't work as good as the 14 grams per liter that we have. So this is the perfect balance available for humans here today. So of course, as I said earlier, which spirulina, which phycocyanin? Because anyone on the planet who wants spirulina, you can go in any shop, in any country, any brand. It is going to be Spirulina platensis. It's called platensis because it's easy to grow, it's fast, and it's cheap. And the nutritional, micronutrition of the structure of that Spirulina platensis can be poor, very poor. So with Tino, we talked about all of this and we decided to grow a very special kind of spirulina. It's called Maxima. And when you compare the structure of the two, well, Maxima is higher to much higher in terms of micro concentration. So obviously, when you extract this wonderful pigment from the best spirulina possible, with the macronutrition and the guarantee to have absolutely zero pathogen, zero pollution in a bioreactor technology that the world had not seen before. There's a reason for this, because Tino is a fantastic brain. In fact, already when he was a young researcher, a young engineer in America, he will tell you, he was the first engineer on the planet to build the very first technology of the bioreactors. So he knows his subject. And we are very, very lucky to have him, to have the technology. I'm talking about the technology, the one, and the best production, the best microalgae possible for our body, for our micronutrition inside the body, to lower the inflammation, to do active prevention. So today, to finish this, this has been 13 years after I became metastatic in Gustav Roussy, in a little corner with my wife next to me, hearing and listening a nightmare that they didn't have a response, a treatment to cure me. I was going to die. This was told to me in front of my wife. I had to put my things in order. Those were the words. And that basically 3 to 7 years later, maximum, that was it. I would not be here today. Well, folks, this is over 13 years later now. And my cancer metabolism has gone totally dead for the past 4 to 5 years. And we're checking it every year. We keep checking, because I know if I stop doing what I do, I know it's waiting for me to stop. It's hiding somewhere like a rat. But I'll never stop. People ask me, do you do this time here, time again, or you stop sometimes and you start again? No, never. You do this every single day. It's a lifestyle. It's an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. You want to know the reason? If there's one thing to remember, the reason why we have this catastrophic state of illness today, especially in the kids. I was sitting with, so I forgot to tell you this, but 4 years ago, Dr. Laurent Zitvogel, the world leading scientist in immunomicrobiome-oncology, asked me to join Oncobiome, the leading researchers on the planet. No one knows what's happening in there. It's ongoing research. So she asked the European Director of Research to officialize me, which he did. So I became the patient advocate. They called me expert. I don't like this word because it makes me uncomfortable, and because we're talking about human beings. But I represent the cause of each patient today, what a patient can do, how important it is to take action, to do prevention, to do active prevention every single day. Leave the treatments to the medical world. That's what they do. We are doing active prevention that is lowering the chronic inflammation in our bodies, because again and again, all it is outside cancer, all the what you call the chronic illnesses, which are not, most of it are not illnesses. There are symptoms to which medical terms have been added to sell medication, obviously. And so it always starts as a low-grade chronic inflammation. And we know that if we do a few things that are included in the Zinzino protocol, it is perfect for doing active prevention to lower the chronic inflammation, which is again the source of all these situations. And pretty much like very top researchers in the world, like Tom Seyfried, a very good friend of mine, or William Lee, the president of the Angiogenesis Foundation in Boston, working with over 40,000 scientists worldwide. Over 95% of those cancers are low-grade chronic inflammation to start with. So it is important that to know, and our responsibility to ourselves, but our responsibility to our children and to our grandchildren, to target the chronic inflammation through, first of all, our microbiome. PhytoSci, Spirulina have been identified by the highest world authorities as the #1 food of the 21st century. Use it. And all I can say is that we now found out, it's been a while, that omega-3s, fatty acids in general, form a formidable team when it comes to teaming up with PhytoSci and Spirulina. And we know why. All the science is there today. All has been published. And I will let Tino explain, go into details a bit more to show you what you have in your hands. Thank you all.
Thanks, JJ. I've got a presentation that I'm going to put up. So let's go ahead and get this presentation going. Can everyone see my screen?
Very good. Speak slowly.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Thanks ever so much, JJ. I think you did a great job. I don't really need to present, to be honest, but yeah, we're going to just have a look at the science regarding how we combine nutritional benefits of not just the omega-3 that we know, but as importantly, or equally importantly, phycocyanin and spirulina, how all three are needed, which you've identified, and so are the scientific institutes, to keep your health, your cells in your body optimal. And I could try and keep this as simple as possible. There are links which actually show that everything that we've got here, the science that we're producing and showing everyone today, is clinically trialed and also is in the scientific journals globally. So who am I? I am an engineer. I graduated from University, Brunel University in Uxbridge, one of the top engineering universities. Didn't realize at that point that I was going to end up being an algae engineer or a bioengineer, if you want to call it that. But here we are. So we've used the engineering that I learned really to look at how we can create a bioreactor to grow algae, but more importantly, how we can take the nutritional value of that spirulina, which makes the phycocyanin, to a higher level, the absolute highest grade possible on Earth today. And I'll stay by that comment. So without further ado, let's move on. So here's a picture of the bioreactor that we produce, spirulina. To give you an idea of length, and that's why I picked this picture, it's as long as a football pitch. And during the 18 years of research at industrial level as an engineer, which I started life in the algae world in Houston, America, Houston, Texas, US, and then took the data from all those systems, we produced within the first 7 years of that 18-year research, this bioreactor, which is unparalleled even today in the market. It's what produces the best spirulina on the planet. We registered this system as the world's first industrial photobioreactor. A photobioreactor, very simply, is named a photobioreactor because it uses light to grow the algae, and in this case, spirulina. The system is 100% fully automated, and it's an award-winning system. Why do we make the system automated? Well, there isn't any way of dosing nutrition to a cell if you're a human being. Unfortunately, it requires a lot of technology to do so. And therefore, that, again, is why we produce a first-class spirulina and phycocyanin. So the 18 years of this research, which is first 7 years of the bioreactor, and then from 7 years to 18 years, where we are today, I've been in this domain, and we delivered the highest nutritional grade of spirulina, and I might add crude phycocyanin. And why I say crude phycocyanin, the drink that we've all got here, and I don't know if you can see that on my camera, but you'll notice it's not blue, it's blue and red. Why? Because the phycocyanin that has had so many great results, which Jean-Jacques has mentioned previously, is because it has 3 proteins and 3 pigments, whereby it can't be, you can't buy those 3 pigments in the phycocyanin that you get out in the high street or online. So crude phycocyanin is all that you can get from us here, and that's why it works so well. But every single nutritional component, if you want to call it, whether it be spirulina for nutrition or crude phycocyanin, which is a protein pigment, with the balanced oils of omega-3, they create a powerful synergy. Why? Because each element of the nutritional roadmap to optimal health or optimal cellular health requires water and requires oil. Phycocyanin is soluble in water, so it dissolves in water. Spirulina and nutrients do not dissolve in water, but they do in omega-3. And this is the real trick and the key to the success of and the synergistic impact that these 3 nutritional products have on the human body at cellular level. So let's have a look at the problem. First question I asked many years ago is, why are we here? Well, our bodies crave nutrition. We wouldn't be here if we didn't crave it. And so it's very important to identify what is the problem. Well, Food that we have been buying in the supermarkets, online, wherever you buy your food, today is far lower in nutrition than in 1950. And in fact, to eradicate this problem and get the food that we buy, which is also in conjunction with the nutrition that our bodies crave and the products that we take, it's important to understand that it would take us a lifetime to actually put that food back to its nutritional level at 1950. Here are the scientific links that you can see, and I gladly pass this to people that want them. So just to move on, to identify this clearly, it's important to understand that 1950, we have on the blue line, 100% of the nutrients in that food. And we go down all the way through to 2010, 2020, where it's diminishing. In fact, we lose anywhere between 30 to 70%, depending on whether it's a fruit, a veggie or vegetable, or meat or poultry. So why is this happening? Well, it's happening mainly because we've got too much demand on the people that are producing our food, and therefore, in order to produce more, to substantiate a nutritional value for every human, it requires a lot more produce, less nutrition, and to serve a population that is increasing.
Et justement, c'est difficile de
Again,
portarlo
there's a link there.
exponentialmente.
We'll share that with you guys
De
later.
nuevo,
So just to move on, to put this in context, here's the percentages, and I've taken a snapshot from one of the journals, MDPI, medical journal, where they did a study and looked at why are people getting sick? Why do we need, why are we not getting a balanced diet? What's going on? Well, if you look at apples, fruits, apples, all the way through to oranges, which you can see on the first row here, top row, go from 19% reduction all the way to 20% reduction, mainly vitamin C in oranges. So you're getting 20% less nutrition out of the orange, not just vitamin C, but all the other nutrients. So no wonder our cells need nutrition. Vegetables the same, meats and poultry exactly the same as well. So in this study, which was over 25 years in effect of where we are 25 years ago, then further back, all the way back to 1940, you can see quite clearly that, in 62 years, we diminished at least, from 19% all the way down to 76% of nutrition. It's why we now crave more sustainable nutrition, such as spirulina, phytoSci, and omega-3. It's clear. So to add to the serious decline and to why our bodies hunger and we look for optimal health is because, as I mentioned earlier, agricultural practices are looking at giving out as many crops and as many much food to substantiate the population, and we're losing the nutrients for the food. The other thing is we have soil. Food grows in soil on planet Earth, Mother Earth, and if you use pesticides or don't replenish the minerals in that soil, it affects the nutrient content of the food that we buy online or at the supermarkets. And I'll put a couple of links in there as well as proof and the trials. But I want to make one thing clear. Just like our algae in our bioreactor, the spirulina cells and our own human cells need nutrition or nutrients. Well, then so does Mother Earth. The great thing is we have a technical solution or an engineering solution, and we'll share that when that transpires in the not too distant future. So here we are. Let's have a look at the synergistic health benefits of omega-3, crude phycocyanin. It's very important, it's crude phycocyanin. If it's just phycocyanin, again, it's not crude. You don't have the three protein pigments. And without that, it doesn't function. And spirulina. The three combined are
Elle a
a
les trois
seriously powerful
ingrédients,
trigger
hein, les trois nutriments.
for cellular health, reduction of inflammation,
Donc,
and
il y a
energy
un des
enhancement.
résultats, c'est
Every
réduire
cell in your
l'inflammation.
body
Chaque
is
cellule dans votre
full
corps
of energy. And if we
est
don't
pleine d'énergie.
supply
Si on lui donne pas les nutritions nécessaires, il vous...
not
bajar la
reduced,
inflamación, si la inflamación no se
ultimately, the cell
reduce,
will die because it has no energy.
al final la célula morirá porque no tiene energía.
I'm not going to bore you with too much science, but I want to make it very
Solamente
clear
quiero que quede
this
muy
slide
claro en esta diapositiva
that each supplement
que cada
that we're looking at
suplemento
today
del que hoy hablamos
benefits.
tiene beneficios únicos. El omega 3, ya los tenéis ahí. Para mencionar unos pocos, es antiinflamatorio, ayuda a la salud del corazón y del cerebro y ayuda a las células. La ficocianina cruda, natural, tiene un poder antioxidante, es antiinflamatoria también.
And enhances dramatically the energy of the cell. And what do we mean by the energy of the cell? Well, in scientific language, it's ATP and mitochondria. And for those of you that don't understand ATP and mitochondria, it's almost like having a car without any engine or any fuel. If the car has no engine or no fuel or both, your car doesn't go anywhere. And I think that's the most simplest way to look at ATP and mitochondria. So phycocyanin is critical, crucial to enter the cell via water. Why? Because it's soluble. To make sure that the engine and the fuel is there to keep that cell alive and keep it healthy. And I think Jean-Jacques touched on that with some of these scientific entities that he's been dealing with. Spirulina provides nutrition, detoxification. It takes the heavy metals out of your body. Something that phycocyanin and omega-3 don't do. It's not their job. It also provides vitamins and iron and essential amino acids, as Jean-Jacques mentioned earlier. Now, spirulina, unfortunately, does not dissolve or is not soluble in water. However, spirulina loves omega-3. So between water and phycocyanin and spirulina and omega-3 oil, or an oil in general, it means the cells get the oil from one side and the water and phycocyanin on the other side. It then creates a healthy cell and repairs and protects for oxidative stress, which is what kills most of the cells and basically extracts the energy from them. So let's look at what happens. Well, the gray bar that you see here is 1.0. So the 0.0, there is no effect if you take no supplementation. You can have the best food, you can have the worst food, or a middle case food that we have today. But if you're not taking any supplements, then ultimately your cells don't have any ability to repair. And therefore, the function is not improved. And just like Jean-Jacques has mentioned, in order to keep your cells healthy, so you stop disease and ailments of the body in the future, it's important to have all of the supplements. And that's an oil supplement, a water-soluble supplement such as phycocyanin, and a spirulina supplement, which is a superfood with all the nutrition that you would find available. So with omega-3, you increase your cell function by 30%. That's just taking omega-3 on its own. If you take phycocyanin, which is this long green bar in the middle, you increase the cell function by 40%. And with spirulina, you increase 20% or 1.2 times. Individually, they're not as good as when they're combined, which is a wholehearted 70% increase in cell function. So Do we combine them or don't we? You could take them separately, but combined in your daily intake is without a doubt 70% increase in cell function activity. And let's bear in mind, there are trillions of cells that need nutrients in our bodies. So just a quick summary, omega-3, crude phycocyanin, which is soluble in water, as we've got here, with the red and the blue color, and spirulina together are a comprehensive approach in supporting all your health. They reduce the inflammation, they enhance your cells to be healthy. If they're not so healthy today, by taking that combination, they will be healthy in the future. And it supports as a trio your wellness
Unterstützen sie deine Wellness und deine Vitalität, um die aufrechtzuerhalten. Und wichtiger.
You have nothing. How does it work? Well, without getting too technical, the car has the engine, it has the fuel. Omega-3 oil actually goes into the cell from the outside the cell and goes through the cell wall very slowly. But what it does do is it takes the nutrients of the spirulina into the cell. The water of the phycocyanin gets into the cell first because it's absorbed. It's easily absorbed. And therefore, because the phycocyanin is soluble in water, the first thing that happens in the cell before the nutrients and the oil comes along is it protects the engine. It makes sure you've got the oil in the engine. Make sure you've got the fuel. Your engine's running. It will protect the cell and boost the energy, which is ATP, mitochondria, or the car, and it will boost the availability to move that car ultimately in the very basic form. Crude phycocyanin works because it's made of 3 pigment proteins, and I can't stress that enough. You buy phycocyanin outside of here on the high street, wherever you wish to buy it, it's called phycocyanin. It's not called crude phycocyanin. It's blue in color, but not blue-red. That's the difference. It eliminates the stress. It protects the engine or the ATP and the fuel tank and the rest of the moving parts of the cell. The cell's happy, but what's it missing? It's missing the nutrients. Spirulina detoxifies. As it gets in through the blood, it detoxifies your heavy metals, and it supplies the utmost best nutrition, plant-based nutrition to the human body, using omega-3 oil as the bus, or what we class in scientific terms, the transport into the cell. It is a perfect synergy. It's designed by nature. It's 100% natural. And I'll leave it open for anybody who wants any questions on this basic presentation. Thanks ever so much.